Hello bookworms, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all doing well. So today's video is all the books I'd like to read in 2022. So with further ado, let's get straight into the video and see what books I want to read. So before I get into the books that I'd like to read for 2022, I just wanted to apologise for the lack of content from me. This past week and a half, COVID basically hit our household. Me and my daughter fell quite unwell on Sunday the 9th of January. Alice particularly had a really high temperature, like a very high temperature to be honest, and it was a sort of, right, you best test her before school just to be on the safe side. None of us thought it would be COVID. We generally thought she'd just come down with another cold. It's very much like her over the winter period. She gets cold after cold and it always affects her chest, and when she's poorly she tends to get a little bit of a temperature, although not as high as it was. So Monday morning we sort of got her ready as normal for school, not really thinking much of it, but she still had a raging high temp, so we were like, we best just test her just on the safe side, because obviously one of the symptoms is a very high temperature. To Alice's dismay, we tested her. She absolutely hates being tested. Like, we only do it up her nose, but she just hates that. It's like we're torturing her and it's horrible to do, but obviously necessary. But yeah, so we did it and within seconds it came back negative. We were all like, oh, we just did not expect that at all. And to be honest, she wasn't like very unwell. It genuinely was like she just had a bad cold. So obviously she had to isolate. So she had to isolate for 10 days, but on day 6 and day 7 we could test her, and if both of them were negative she could go back to school. So on a Monday the 10th she tested positive. The rest of us, so me and my parents, we tested and we were all negative, which was surprising for me because I had exactly the same symptoms as Alice. I just didn't have a high temperature, and because I'm very, cuddly and kissing with Alice, and she tends to wake up and come into my bed, where it means she's snuggling in bed and coughing and spewing over me. So we were quite shocked that I was negative, especially the fact that I had exactly the same symptoms as her. But we didn't particularly want any of us to be positive, let alone Alice. So my parents tested daily purely because if they were negative they could still do all of the errands they needed to do. So they tested daily because pretty much every day they went out. I tested every other day just because we hadn't had that many test kits. So I tested a couple of times and I was negative, and I was feeling worse and worse in regards to illness, and I was just like, okay, like maybe I'm just coming down with a sympathy cold. And then Wednesday night I just constantly could not stop coughing. I had a bad chest. I'm asthmatic, so I just kind of thought I was just, maybe instead of getting a full-blown cold it was going onto my chest, because that tends to happen sometimes. But I was non-stop coughing, and then Thursday morning I just again was coughing and coughing, and I thought, you know what, I best test just, on the safe side. And as quickly as Alice's positive test came, mine came really positive. So obviously it came a couple of days after Alice, so then I had to isolate. And then we thought, okay, that's it. Like, my mum was still negative, my dad was still negative, and then Sunday my mum tested like she's always been doing, and hers came back positive. However, my mum, and still even to today's date, she still hasn't got any symptoms. So it's a good job she did test daily, because if she hadn't, she would have gone out and spreaded COVID with not realising, because she had no symptoms. So that's the reason why I haven't posted at all week. I have done a vlog which I'm still currently filming as I'm still isolating. I've done like an isolation vlog, but I couldn't do a proper couldn't do a proper video like this because I was non-stop coughing. I pretty much couldn't even get out of my pajamas, and so I was like, I'm just going to listen to my body and do what my body's asking me to do. I'm obviously got an autoimmune disease, I'm asthmatic, and I'm immune suppressed by medication, so I take longer to get better. But the last couple of days I haven't been coughing, so I kind of feel like I'm over the worst. Alice is feeling a lot better. Unfortunately, when we tested on day 6 and 7, she was still positive, so we decided to do the full 10 days isolation. I'm probably going to do that if I still test positive, but we're kind of hoping that I'm not, because I'm not sure. I'm back to my normal sort of health. I'm just a little bit more tired than normal. But Alice should technically go back to school on Thursday, but because the rest of us are still isolating, it's just easier to keep her off the last 2 remaining days. Also, it's PE days, and that just won't do her chest any good. So we thought, you know what? By Monday, my isolation will be done. Alice will be completely like isolation free, and it just makes sense to start a new school week, like in an actual week. And it meant I could actually take her instead of relying on my dad, because my dad is the only negative person. But out of everyone, he feels absolutely horrendous. Like, he's coughing, he's got a sore throat, he's got all of the signs for COVID, but he's negative. He's even done a PCR test to check, just in case it was like a false negative, and again that come back negative. So I think my dad's just got virus after virus. But yeah, so I'm finally back doing some videos. I'm planning to video a couple of videos in one day, just because I can. But I'm back. Obviously I tend to do vlogs on the weekend, but I'm not been able to because obviously I've had Alice. It literally is 3 weekends in a row with her, which is lovely because it's usually every other weekend. But yeah, I'm back to it, so you can finally see my face again, to your utter dismay. But yeah, let's get into the actual video itself, because I am basically telling you the books I'd like to read in 2022 for this year. So this is the last year where I'm doing like I did 21 books for 2021. This year I'm doing 22 books for 2022, but when we go into 2023 I won't be doing that, because as the years go by it's going to be more books, and it's just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger, and it's going to be ridiculous. So this is going to be the last year where I go the amount of books to the amount of year. The rest of the years, for however long I do booktube, it will be 10, maybe 12. So I've got 22 books, and most of them are fantasy, but I have a few like little hidden gems there. So let's get straight into the books. So I'm gonna have to bend it, like I might get out of camera focus, but I've got all the books surrounding me here, so I have to bend down and get them. So the first lot of books, I'll do this lot. So I want to try and read some classics. Now, I haven't picked one classic because I just don't know. So I'm just going to show you the classics that I do have, and hopefully I will at least read one of them. You never know, I might read all of them. But this is my classic selection that I've got. It's not that many, but I've got The Little Prince, I've got Alice in Wonderland, I've got Jane Eyre's by Charlotte Bronte, and then I've got Emma by Jane Austen. So I would like to at least read one of these books. Technically, I probably may do these two because I like both of these two stories and films, and they're quite short and sweet. So if I'm going to read a classics, it possibly could be those two because it's the easiest option. But I do want to sort of really put myself out there and at least read one of these, because these to me are what is classed as a proper classic. Now, I have tried my hardest to read classics. I tried reading Frankenstein. I even tried reading Dracula, and I just do not like the writing format. It's just extremely too old for me. However, I feel like if I read a book that I know a lot about, or I've watched like the TV or film adaptations, stuff like that, I feel like I understand the story better. For example, Little Women. I haven't read the book. I honestly think I probably will enjoy the book purely because I do love Little Women. I've loved all the different film adaptations, and I think when it came to the book I would probably enjoy it as well. For another example is I read Charles Dickens' oh my god, I forgot what it's called, the Christmas one with Scrooge. I've forgotten what it's called now, but I read that, and I think if I hadn't watched the film adaptations to TV, any sort of adaptations to that book, I think I probably wouldn't enjoy the book. But because I understood the story, I've watched the films and all that, I really did enjoy the story itself. Like, it was obviously more older language, but I could understand that because I knew the story. So I feel like if I read a classic that is something that I like watching, I'd probably be really good with the story itself. So these are options. I couldn't just pick one purely because I don't know which one I'll go through, but I would at least like to read one classic for this year. Next up is a chunky, and I keep putting it off. It's A Little Life by Hanya Yangihara. Everyone loves this book. It's very sad, it's very morbid, it's quite depressing. It obviously talks about mental health and I think suicide. And I want to read it, but I'm one of those people, I have to be in the right headspace for it. And my mental health has been very up and down lately, but I think I finally got back into a place where I'm good. So I really would like to read this. I don't know when. It will have to be a time where I feel completely ready to read it, and it also be like a time where I've got the time to read it, because it is a very big book. It's a very heavy book. So I think I need to make sure I haven't got a lot going on and I can take time to read this. So I think I probably will read this around the time when Alice is on holiday at her dad's. She's got a few weeks at her dad's, so I feel like I have a full week where I haven't got any distractions, and I think that would be the perfect time to read this. It just depends what month that would be. But I really would like to read it because she's got a new book out, is it To Paradise, which is another chunky book. And I feel like if I like her writing style in here and really enjoy this book within reason, because it's not a very enjoyable book, I might pick up her other book and try that out. But yeah, this is definitely a I need to, because I keep wanting to. It's been on my shelves for ages, but because it's such a heavy read, I feel like I need to be in the right frame of mind for it. I would also like to read Clara and the Sun by Kazuo Ishiguro. A lot of people enjoy this book, a lot of people don't. It has sort of got a sci-fi element, but I feel like it's more of a speculative fiction rather than very like sci-fi. But it's about Clara, who is a artificial friend, and she basically I think she's just basically very lonely, and she finally has like a human to be with. And I think it's just about her and how she learns humanity and combating loneliness and stuff like that. That's what I think it's about. I don't 100% know, but a lot of people enjoy it. A lot of people don't. But I think this might be a book that I actually would really like, because I do quite like AI stuff. So yeah, that is hopefully an option to read. Like, these books I would love to read, but I can honestly tell you now, when I did 21 books for 21, I think I possibly, maybe at a push, read 7 out of the 21. I failed. Am I gonna complete this one? I would like to, but will I? That is the question. But I do want to, at the end of the year, or probably more when 2023 comes, I want to look back at this video and I want to actually say whether I did read what I read, blah blah blah. I was going to do that for 21 books and 21, but some of the books in there I do not own. So, and I was just like, oh, do you know what? I can't be bothered to faff and put images in and all that. I thought, no. So yeah, I do want to look back at this video and see where I have completed it, but I'm not holding my breath and saying that I will, but we're going to try. Next we have Katherine House by Elizabeth Thomas. Everyone that I know, that I'm quite friendly with, loves this book. Sydney from Sid Bookworms loves this book. She raves about it non-stop, even in her Patreon chat. It's probably one of her favourite books. She said it's absolutely weird and bizarre, but she loves it. She also loves Bunny, and she actually gifted me this, so thank you. And because she's gifted it to me and I know it's one of her favourite books, I really want to give it a go, because we have got similar tastes, and I kind of feel like if I love this, I probably will then love Bunny, which I do own as well. So yeah, I would like to get to this, because I did actually get a library version and I did start reading it and I was quite intrigued, but I just didn't have enough time to keep reading it, and then I had to go back. But Sydney gave me my own copy, so I thought, well, I best read it because I know it's her favourite, and I have a feeling that I might like it because I'm a weird person. Let me just grab the other books so I don't have to constantly bend down. So a couple of these books are books that if I do not read this year, they might self-destruct. because I've owned them for ages. I've been oohing and ahhing about unhauling them, but I keep going, I'm going to give it a try. I'll give it another try. And this is one of them. It's The Deathless Girls by Kieran Millwood Hargrave. I know it's about witches. It's not about witches, I lie. It's about the brides of Dracula. Why I've got that in my head. And I do like vampire books, but I just know like this is a historical fiction, and unless it's a historical romance or it's about the war, I'm not very good with historical books. But a lot of people who've read this say it's absolutely fantastic. And like I said, I like vampires. So I'm putting this on this list because if I do not read it for this year, then it is going to self-destruct and I'm going to unhaul it, because what is the point of keeping a book that I'm just not going to read? So hopefully I will pick it up and hopefully I will actually enjoy it. Like, I absolutely love the chapter headers. They're gorgeous. And it is the most beautiful book, you know, that I own paperback-wise. Another book is quite a new book. I think this... Is this... No, it's not an arc. It feels like an arc. It's called The 7 Visitations of Sydney Burgess by Andy Marino. I actually got this secondhand from a book website, and I just saw it. It sounded really good. And basically, Sydney Burgess has a really wonderful life, like a good job, a perfect home, a boyfriend who loves her son and accepts her flaws and all. And then she opens her front door and a masked intruder knocks her briefly unconscious and everything begins to collapse. She wakes in the hospital and tells a harrowing story of escape. The cops tell her a different story because the intruder is now lying dead in her house. So basically, I think she's in hospital or she's in a psychiatric hospital, one of the two, and she's been told that she killed this intruder, but she has a different memory. And I think it's going backwards and forwards, and yeah, it's apparently I think it's a horror, but like also a psychological thriller. I'm not 100% sure, but it sounded really good, and a lot of people have written the sense of dread just builds and builds, and I literally read the first chapter of this just to get a feel of it, and I was like, I think I'm going to love this book. This just sounds absolutely fantastic, so I'd like to get around and read that. And then these are a mixture of I think one's a thriller, like a murder mystery actually, and I think the others are actually like ghosty horror stuff. I'd like to read The Spirit Engineer by AJ West. So I actually saw this on a rounds over Bookstagram because a lot of people were on tour for this book and everybody gave it 5 stars. They just said it was amazing. This also has like a book trailer, and I love it when books have trailers because it really sets the scene for you. But I've heard nothing but good things about this book over on Bookstagram. I don't think I've seen it actually talked about a lot on BookTube. But if anyone has read this, please drop down your thoughts in the comment section because I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. But it just sounds really, really good. A lot of people have written on here in like the blurb synopsis, haunting, witty and deeply moving, set to become a gothic classic. But I don't 100% remember what it's about. But apparently it's based on the true story of Professor William Jackson Crawford and famed medium Kathleen Colliger, and with a cast of characters including Sir Arthur Conan Doyle and Harry Houdini. The Spirit Engineer conjures a taunted, twisted tale of paranoia and one ultimate and inescapable truth. So it's sort of based on a true story, so I'm intrigued. Next is The Whistling by Rebecca Netley. I actually saw, I think it was Jodie. She got an arc of this, and the arc looked amazing, and I was like, I'm curious about this book. And read a synopsis and I thought, oh my god, this sounds brilliant. So I ended up pre-ordering it because it wasn't out yet, and I got it. But it's set in... It's based on a haunted house. It's based on a haunted house. It's sort of a ghost story, but like it sort of gives me like what was it called? Another book that I read and I thought it was like a haunted house, but actually it wasn't. There was like a reason behind it, and this is sort of the vibes I'm getting from it. Home Before Dark, Riley Sager, that's the one. This gives me that kind of vibes, but like, can you see the person in the lamplight? I think this is going to be fantastic. I think this is going to give me amazing creep factors, and I think it'll be a perfect read for October. This book is a murder mystery book. It's Reprieve by James Han Matson. I actually just saw this edition in Waterstones, and I was just like, I need. And like in the actual book, whatever they're called, I can't speak. It's a map of the escape room, and basically this is set in the 1990s. I'm a 1990s baby, so I think this is going to be brilliant. And it's 4 contestants make it to the final cell of Quigley House, a full contact haunted escape room made famous for its monstrosities. Basically, if they walk out without saying the safe word reprieve, they'll walk away with $60,000. But basically, while they're something happens, I think a murder happens. It's also got a horror aspect into it, so I think it's like a murder mystery. I also think it's got horror elements, so whether there's ghosts or whatever around, I'm not too sure. I just saw it on Waterstones, loved the actual cover of it, and when I saw that it was about a haunted escape room game, I was like, I am fascinated by them. I'll never do one because I'm just not good with that kind of stuff, but it just sounds really cool, so I'd love to get round to that. And then lastly in this little section is Madame by Phoebe Wine. I can't remember where I saw this from. I'm not sure whether I just saw like someone on Bookstagram talk about it or a publisher talk about it. I can't remember, but it sounded really good, and I remember sharing it on my Bookstagram story, and then someone actually saw it and then commented to me to say that this is actually her old school teacher, the author, and so like she was really excited, and that was really cool. I think it's a mixture. It says here, imagine if Donna Tartt and Margaret Atwood got together to write a creepy suspenseful novel about a school for young women. So I think it's got a dark academia vibes. It's based in Cowdenbery Hall, which is on the Scottish cliffs. So it's got a bit of Greek and Roman mythology, like Greek mythology and Roman history. It's based in a school, so it's got the dark academia vibes, and it sort of gives me a little bit of Maiden's sort of vibe. That's what I'm getting out of it. But it sounded really good. I was intrigued, and I was intrigued even more because it was someone's school teacher who wrote this, and I was like, well, that just makes it even special. And then we're on to fantasy, although there's one sci-fi which I'll get to now. So I really would like to try and read Illuminati by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. I love Jay Kristoff's book. The only book I've ever read by him is Empire of Vampire. Absolutely loved his writing. Everyone says that even though this is sci-fi, it's such an easy, fast-paced read. It's also mixed media as well. We've got like emails, we've got transcripts, we've got like this kind of stuff, and everyone just says that it's one of those books that's really easy to read. It's really fast-paced. It's like got sci-fi, space opera, whichever one it is like action, adventure, fight scenes. We've also got a bit of romance in, and everyone who has read this loves it. So I'm like, do you know what? If it's fast paced and it's not like too difficult, which when I've looked at it, it doesn't sound too complicated to understand, I think I would actually enjoy it. And I think if that's the case, then I might finally find what kind of sci-fi book I like, because the ones that I've tried have just been a complete no-no. So yeah, I definitely want to try and read this. I'm even about putting this in my February TBR because I am really drawn to it at the moment, and I feel like if I really enjoy this book, I can continue with the series. So we'll see when I read it, but this definitely is one that I actually do really want to get to. So these next 2 books, again, are on if I do not read it this year, they are going to self-combust because I have had them on my shelves for years. They're really good condition still, considering I've had them for a while. But that's probably because they've been away from the window and stuff, so they haven't like gotten funny. But the first up is The Raven Boys by Maggie Stiefvater. I'm not sure if I said that right. But I've had this book for ages and I just haven't picked it up. I know it's a YA fantasy and I'm not at all against YA fantasy. I feel like they're the most easiest reads. I don't know, I haven't wanted to pick it up. I don't think there is a reason behind it really. Oh, it's a really shiny cover, look at that. But I have seen that people who read it have really enjoyed the series. And I think I probably will, because when it comes to YA fantasy, I do enjoy it. It's very easy, it's very quick and fast paced. I think I'm worried because I've read a lot of high fantasy now and a lot of adult fantasy, and even some YA fantasy I've read. It's more in depth and it's more darker. I just feel like this might be a little bit mediocre for me, but I want to give it a go. You never know, I might turn around and absolutely love it. But if I do not read it for this year, then it's pretty much going to be, I should probably unhaul it, because am I going to read it? And another one is Nevernight by J. Kristoff. Again, I think this is YA, and it's the same reasons like The Raven Boys. I've just been unsure, but I do really like J. Kristoff's writing, and I honestly think I probably will enjoy this. I'm not 100% sure whether this is YA or not. I think it is, if I remember correctly. I think all his books are YA apart from Empire of the Vampire, which is his first like adult book. But I like his writing, so I think I probably might like this book. It just, sometimes I feel with YA books they can be just a bit meh, but then you can get others that are just absolutely amazing. It's just, it depends which book it is. But again, if I do not pick this up this year, then it might be a, look, you've had it for years, maybe it's time to just get rid. And then the rest of the books are definitely what I really want to try and get to, and if I don't get to, I don't have an excuse to not. But first up is Assassin's Apprentice by Robin Hobb. I keep putting this book off because it's a beloved author, it's a beloved series, it's a massive series. Like obviously we have this series and then you've got another series, but it all interlinks together sort of thing. And I think I just keep putting it off purely because it's such a huge series, and I feel like if I start it and I love it, I'm going to have to continue reading the series, and that means a lot of books, and yeah. But I'm also like worried that I might not love it, and if I don't love it, this is a beloved author and a beloved series that I might just like get booed at. So I keep putting it off for that reason. Everyone loves it, like everyone who has read this, even bookstagrammers and booktubers that I idolise, love this book, and I'm there thinking, I know I'm gonna love it. If these people love it and I read similar books to them, I read lots of books that they've recommended and I've enjoyed, surely I am gonna love it too. But I am just so afraid of it because I'm like, if I don't love it, like I'm probably the only one. So I really want to get around and read this. Like I need to stop being scared of it. Next is Sunderland Ascends by Josiah Bancroft. I actually bought this purely because Prue's Project, her videos, she absolutely loves this book, loves the series. I think she's read the series now, or at least read the first 2 books. And when she described it, I actually was like, this sounds really, really good. And I was like, I think I'll like it, because again, we have similar tastes. So this is my chance to try and read it. I have no reason why I haven't picked it up. I think it's just because it's one of those like covers that doesn't draw me in like some other fantasy books. So it's just sort of there, like, but I just like and go to something else. But it's about time I pick it up. Next I've got The Mask of Mirrors by M.A. Carrick. I actually got this from my independent bookstore. I saw it there and I was like, oh, this sounds really good. Mainly because it's about con artists, and I love con artists, but it's also got the fantasy and magic element, and I'm there thinking, I think this book is going to be a 5-star read. Like, I have 5-star predictions for this because I love reading about con artists and the cons they do, I love fantasy and I love magic, so I feel like this is going to be an absolute smasher of a book. And I must admit, when I bought it, I hadn't seen this book do its rounds. And ever since I bought it, I saw it on Bookstagram, I saw it quite often on BookTube. I don't know whether anyone's actually read it yet, but I've seen people buy it and put it in their haul videos. But I'm like, I keep wanting to read it, but I've just had other obligations, and I'm like, do you know what? It's time to pick this up because I think I'm going to absolutely enjoy it. Next, I'll pick up the last couple of paperbacks, and then the last 3 are hardbacks. So I would like to read The Once and Future Witches by Alex E. Harrow, who is the author of the 10,000 Doors of January. I actually have that book on hold at the library, but because of COVID I've not been able to pick it up. But I'm hoping that when I test on day 7 I will be negative and then I can pick it up. If not, I'm going to have to ring up and say, I got COVID, I'm still isolating, can you keep it on hold for me, and I will pick it up next week, because it's going to be put back on the shelves on the 21st. So I'm hoping to get it because I really want to read that book first before I read this, just to get an idea of her writing. But another Sydney recommendation, she loves this book. It's a historical fantasy and it's about witches, which I was like, ooh, but I've heard nothing but good things. I honestly think it's probably going to be something I'm going to enjoy, because at the minute I am absolutely fascinated in reading every fantasy book about witches. I'm on a witches trend at the minute. So a lot of people love this book. A lot of people who I look up to enjoy this book, and I'm there thinking, I have a feeling I'm going to enjoy it. And I also feel like if I enjoyed A Discovery of Witches, which again is a historical fantasy, and I did like that, I think I'm going to enjoy this. So yes, we're going to read it. Next, which I know I'm going to read because this is actually going to be put on my February TBR, and I know for well I'm going to pick it up, but it's King of Battle and Blood by Scarlett St. Clair, who is the author of the A Touch of Darkness series, which is the Hades and Persephone retelling that she's done. I read A Touch of Darkness on my Kindle, absolutely loved it, love her writing, and I actually want to buy the whole Hades and Persephone series actually in paperbacks because I want to own it. But this is about a woman, I cannot pronounce the names, I'm going to have to work that out when I get to it, but a woman who has been, to protect the people of her kingdom, she has to marry the vampire king. So basically she's going to marry him and her plot is to kill him, but basically she actually falls in love with the vampire king, and yeah, so the stuff. So it's I think like a dark romance. I've heard it's extremely steamy, and I just think it's going to be an absolute fun read. So I know this is going to definitely be read because I actually want to put it on my February TBR. And another one that I know I'm definitely going to read because, well, you'll understand. It's A Shadow in the Ember by Jennifer L. Anchout. So it's a Flesh and Fire series. I'm not sure whether it's a trilogy or whether it's a duology or a quartet. I'm not 100% sure. But it's set in the same world as how Blood and Ash was, but it's not the same characters as what's in Blood and Ash. This is actually about Seraphina, who I think is the very first ever maiden, and she basically falls in love with the Primal of Death, and I think this, I'm not 100% sure without reading it properly, but I think basically she's planned to kill this god, and I think she falls in love with him and stuff happens. I'm not sure whether this is how the world from Blood and Ash, how what she did is how what it made what's going on in From Blood and Ash. I'm not 100% sure until I read it, but I have heard this is 10 times steamier than From Blood and Ash, and From Blood and Ash was steamy, so yeah. But I absolutely love this world. I love Jennifer's writing, and I know I'm going to pick this book up in the next coming months, and I honestly think this is going to be an easy 5-star read too. Then the last 3 books are hardbacks. I would like to read The Witchhaven by Sasha Payton Smith. This is a dark academia book based on witches. Enough said, I think I am gonna love this book. Like I said, I'm in a complete witch vibe, and I just think I'm gonna love it. And I was kindly gifted this to my dear friend Lucy, thank you. She got me this, and it's just a beautiful cover underneath here. Yeah, I'm really excited to pick this up. I wanted to read it since I saw a few people on BookTube talk about it. So yeah, I think I'm going to love this. Dark academia, the witch school, what's not to love? And then the next 2 books is a duology. I didn't want to include series in this video because I'm doing a separate series video, but this is a duology and I haven't actually started it yet, so it's not continuing on the series. But I would like to read King of Scars by Leigh Bardugo, and then Rule of Wolves by Leigh Bardugo. And basically, this is still in the Grishaverse world, but it's a year after the Sun Summoner, it's a year after the Fold and the Darkling and all of that. And this follows Nikolai, who is we follow him. I sort of know some bits that's gone on with him, which is why this is called this, but I'm not 100% sure. It's just speculation because I haven't actually read Ruin and Rising quite yet. It's on my TBR. But it follows him. It's a year after the Fold and the Sun Summoner and the Darkling and that big massive fight. I love Nikolai. I absolutely adored him in Siege and Storm, and I know he's a big part in Ruin and Rising. And I just think I am going to love these 2 books. I'm not 100% sure. Does this still follow on with Nikolai? Or... yeah, okay, it is. Right. I wasn't sure. But yeah, I wanted to grab these because I am... it's just beautiful. I have... you can just about see, but I do have a Grishaverse little shelf. So I want to put all my Grishaverse books here, and then some like awesome bits and bobs to go with the shelves. But I want to finish off by reading these 2 books because I absolutely am loving the Grishaverse series, like the big massive series. Not obviously they're all in different sections, but I'm loving it, so I think I'm going to love them. But yeah, they're the 22 books that I'd like to read in 2022. I definitely think I will read a couple. Whether I will read the whole 22 will be interesting, but we'll see. But yes, thank you for watching. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.